When you try to talk to the kind of woman that you like, do they even listen to you? Or do you have trouble to keep their attention for more than a few minutes? If they quickly lose interest in you because you no longer have anything interesting to say, then we are going to unveil in this video 7 language patterns that can keep anyone interested as you speak. So I received a few comments lately about open loops and nested loops in terms of seduction. How do you use them whenever you are in a context with a girl you want to date, or even during a date, to make her chase you, which is something I discourage, but let's elaborate that, and how to use that. First of all, the difference between open loops and nested loops, even if they have some commonalities. Open loops is basically about heightening the attention of the person listening to you. Nested loops is more complicated and trickier. It is about getting them in a trance state covertly to induce ideas that will flourish later in their mind. But since a seduction is mostly about inducing some emotional connection that to some extent has to be natural, you can't force that on somebody either, but at least how to enhance the possibility of an emotional connection and closing the physical proximity. Because when we talk about seduction, mostly we talk about sexual intercourse. That is, sorry to teach you something, that is not going to happen without actual physical proximity. So the whole language talking and talking and talking, yeah, that is cool. That is just the first phase. As soon as possible, you're supposed to close the gap, stop talking, and actually touching her in the way she likes. With that definition in mind, or that concept in mind, let's come back slightly to the idea of nested loops. Because the desire to use nested loops in a dating context, or even any kind of deeply hidden, hypnotic type of communication with a girl, those intentions usually come down to I don't believe in myself, I don't think she can like me for who I am, therefore I have to play some tricks on her. Yeah, first of all, you don't need to play anything. If she doesn't like you, she's losing something anyway, so let's evaluate yourself as somebody of value instead of seeing yourself as a piece of garbage, please, for once. Now that we have clarified that, the whole concept of nested loops is to induce things in their head, interjecting into your stories little commands or concepts that will develop themselves in their mind later as the days and weeks and years go by. If your intent is to seduce somebody, as we have clarified, the whole thing is still about closing the situation right now, or at least as soon as possible. Why would you delay that? Why do you even try to plant ideas in her head without even testing what you're doing? Because my problem with nested loops in that context, or even many kinds of hypnotic communication to seduce a girl, my problem with that is when I tried to use that, I was never quite sure if it worked. Because as long as she's not touching you, as long as she's not giving any physical response, then you don't have any real legit proof that what you did actually worked. And even if that worked, since the whole nested loops thing is mostly unconscious and in the realm of their deepest part of their mind, you don't even know if by the end, when she finally kisses you, you don't even know if she kisses you because you have said some deeply rooted hypnotic metaphor, or just because she likes you, and that may just be it. So to get that aside, I would recommend more the use of open loops, which is much easier and valuable for the patterns we are going to see here than nested loops. And the best way I have found to use nested loops in a social environment to catch people's attention or even to seduce somebody I liked, the best definition I came up with is open loops are about implying the people are going to have an emotional reaction to what you are going to say. So I am implying that you are going to react in pretty intense ways to what I'm going to say next, but without being clear yet about how or why you will get that emotional reaction. And you are going to see many examples of that, and you are going to be intensely delighted about all the things you are going to learn just right now. Before that, you can use open loops whenever you comment on your own reaction when describing or tell something about any topic. One first hint is to start educating yourself about things that you are compelled about, things that you are stimulated by. When you talk from a standpoint of I love learning about this, people get compelled just by you being compelled about what you say. But then, to give concrete examples of how that works, we are going to see those 7 patterns. The first one, you can say, there's something that really shocked me when I discovered this about nested loops, or about anything you want to talk about. There is one thing that really shocked me. I was really amazed when I discovered this about nested loops. And you pause. Let them process the heightened awareness. Now they want to know, what is it? And if they don't know what nested loops is, you may say, I didn't know what nested loops were, and then I discovered what it was, and I got completely amazed by all the things you can do with nested loops, or hypnosis or anything. And then you pause. You let them process this heightened awareness, this curiosity. It is all about maintaining a state of curiosity, of wanting to learn more. And to some extent, it can also trigger some emotional engagement. The more compelled they are about what you say, the more emotionally engaged they feel. And if it is a girl, she may be more likely to like you if she has felt any sort of emotional appeal toward what you said. The second one, I am afraid I maybe should not tell you what I'm going to say right now. Do you want to hear it? And you use that one when you have something maybe unpleasant, or maybe when she displayed some political belief or anything you may not completely like, and of course remain respectful. It's not about attacking her, but just mentioning, verbalizing that you may not completely like something she said. Honesty and authenticity are extremely valued behaviors in the eyes of women, I would say, from the ones I know at least. When you can display true honesty, they obviously like you more, or at least know that, oh, when she talks to you, at least she knows she can take your word for it. She knows you're not going to try to bullshit her just for her to like you. You're going to say something you don't like. And for example, you can say, I'm afraid what I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to like that. So, do you want me to say it? Most people, maybe especially women, can't stand not knowing. When there is something implied but not clear, they want to know what it is. Number 3, most people I said that to couldn't believe it at first. This one is more a slight thing to catch the attention of a group. You might talk about any topic and you say, I learned something, and when I start talking about this, people don't believe me. Do you think you can believe me on what I'm going to say? Now they want to hear it. Now you have their attention. Now if they were just on their phone, mindlessly scrolling and barely listening to you, now you have their attention because now they want to know what you're going to say. Number 4, which is kind of a variation, a bit different, I'm going to tell you something that is really hard to believe and I don't know if you will believe me. Or you may even go one step further. I'm going to tell you something that may make you dislike me, and I don't know if you're still going to like me after I said it. This one worked beautifully for me, not even in a seduction context, but in a more like a work environment, when I wanted to get the recognition of somebody at work, and I wanted to create a better connection with that person. So I said right off the bat, listen, I don't want to disrespect you, I'm just going to say something and you may not like me for having said that. Do you want me to say it? And the guy went, okay, say it. Then I said it, and in the end he was not even pissed off or anything. But because I had said that ahead of time, I got his full attention, whereas this guy was very busy into many things. I got his full attention first of all, and then he even liked me more because I displayed full honesty and authenticity. Number 5, this one definitely for a girl that you like and that I have also used quite a few times. There's something I really like about you, but if I tell you what it is, you're gonna stop doing it, so maybe I should just not tell you anything. And when you introduce the idea of validating her, but then you quickly get that validation away from her because you're not going to say what it is that validates her in your eyes, she will try to get that validation back. Unless you are a complete douchebag and she hates you anyway, in that case obviously she won't respond in a positive way. But if at least you are somebody interesting, somebody she can have an interesting conversation with, you inducing that will definitely make her more compelled about what you say and will make her inclined to engage much more in the conversation. And sometimes I really played with that one for like hours and hours, saying, like after 2 hours on the date, saying, you know what, maybe now I'm gonna tell you. Actually, no, I'm not gonna tell you. And then 1 hour later, okay, you won me, you won over me, now I'm gonna tell you. And actually saying, actually no. And keep playing like this until she can't stand anymore, she needs to know. And sometimes when I really played that game correctly, she even started closing the gap physically with me by itself. I didn't even have to do any Kino escalation. She closed the gap because that tension of validating, not validating, validating, not validating her, that was terrible, and she wanted to get the validation. Obviously, those are flirtatious games. I would not recommend to do that on anybody who's got serious self-esteem issues. In that case, she might need more of a therapist than anything else. As long as it is somebody you have some fun with, you can be playful with that. Number 6, it seemed impossible, but then I stopped and told myself the only thing that could make it possible. I use that one when I talk about some stories of myself. If you want to induce engagement when you talk about yourself, obviously mix that with talking about her. But if you want to get her more interested into anything you have to say, you might induce something big again, something interesting is going to happen in your story without mentioning just yet what it is. And to that extent, you can use the language pattern. It seemed impossible for me in the beginning to accomplish what I accomplished. And for a long time, you know, I really didn't believe I would be able to do it. But then someday I stopped. So the word stop is a command too. Then someday I stopped and I told myself the only thing that finally made me cross the bridge, that finally made me succeed. There was only one thing I could tell myself to finally succeed. And if I hadn't told me this, I would have never succeeded. Obviously, that will work better if it is on a topic that she has already displayed some interest into. So if I use that talking about hypnosis but she doesn't care about it, obviously not going to work. But if I talk about NLP or healing or losing weight through hypnosis and she got compelled, then I can elevate her attention even more and keep her interested by infusing my language with some of those patterns. And then finally, number 7, there is an incredible thing very few people on earth can do. And I'm not sure if you are one of them. Again, you pause, you let them process on what could that be. And now maybe they want to prove that, yeah, of course they can. They are among the 1% of people who are really intelligent or have a higher IQ or whatever they believe in, inducing the idea there is a small group of people who are higher in life. And maybe you are part of them. Maybe I am part of them, I don't know. Let's test that together. Maybe you are part of them. Maybe your friend is part of them. Maybe one of you is more than the other. Do you think you are smarter than your friend? I think there is one thing we could use to differentiate both of you. Do you want to know what it is? You can escalate like this the game of inducing tension, releasing tension, inducing more tension, releasing some more tension. If you keep playing like this on the conversation and even physically approaching, facing people, then slightly turning away because don't want to talk about that anymore. Like this, you can be the social magnet to most people in the environment. And if it is just a girl, you can make the conversation escalate more easily by playing that push and pull game in a flirtatious way, in a fun way. It is not about doing anything manipulative at all. It is about playing with the tension during the conversation to make that more stimulating for her as she spends time with you. Now, if you want to discover more of those language patterns, you have a document down below that can be used in a dating context and that can also be used to open people's minds whenever you have some difficult conversation. It is called the 7 Steps to Master Sleight of Mouth. You have that down below and you can develop your skills whenever you use those patterns into a conversation with a girl or anybody you want to have a conversation with, and you want to either get their attention or solve a conflict or help them maybe see their life in a better way or get past some limitation eventually. You can use all of those techniques to reframe what they used to think about themselves in a way that makes them happier about who they are today. With that in mind, thank you for listening. Download this document right now as I say it, and I will see you soon in the next video. Thank you.